Welcome to an all-new episode of Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. This podcast explores leadership traits under stress with a special guest each week. We use a simple and accurate OAD assessment to identify key personality traits or superpowers, as well as the shadow side, kryptonite traits that appear when we're under stress. As always, we'll have some pod banter, shameless plugging, and we'll even let our guests talk for a bit. Of course, no humble brags. Welcome to the show. All right, we're already recording. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 79.
Wow.
Work in Progress. Steph Reck. How are you, Steph?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Good. Will and I are going to banter for a few minutes. So if you need to leave and get a cup of tea or something, let us know. But
is that a new slide? That looks good. Is that new?
Yeah. Banter. Couple things.
Okay. Yep. Shoulder surgery coming up.
So today was my 1-year anniversary.
That's right.
And I posted a love letter to you because I know what you're about to go through.
I've been through 2 on the same shoulder.
Ooh, what did you have?
Oh, I had anterior and posterior stabilization, and then I had a labrum tear repaired.
Oof.
I'm fancy. I don't just do it one time.
Was that
I do it
athletics?
2 times.
Do it all night long. Will, what did you having done?
So I've got some arthritis in the right shoulder and some stuff that needs to be cut away from the bone and some rotator cuff repair and some biceps tendon repair. So it's arthroscopic, but they also got to cut through the muscle and because they got to take some bone pieces out.
What is this podcast all about?
Yeah, it's apparently about shoulder injuries and those kinds of things.
Well, by the time this comes out, you will be well on the mend. So
yeah, I'll be through most of my PT by then. Yeah.
I guess we'll start talking about this. So we are beginning to wrap up Work in Progress as an ongoing venture. Steph, you're 79. I think we have guests through 83 or 84. So you're almost a penultimate. Will, you can Google that. And
can't spell it though.
We have a new one coming out. I won't talk much about it now, but it's called Work in Progress, The Next Challenge. And we're keeping some of the same format, but we're changing enough of it so that it's a net new, and we get to do new logos and all that stuff. But that's not about today. Today is about you, Steph.
And an airplane.
Is that what that is? Who?
That is an airplane. I live near the DIA.
Oh, and you're old school. You still call it DIA.
Yeah, and Space Force.
Nice.
So we get a lot of really interesting planes over the head.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm John Lane.
I'm Will Barfield.
We are
a Work in
Progress. Steph, nice to see you. Will?
Yes.
What do we know about Steph?
She's a special guest.
How do we know that?
Because the slide says so.
And
am I a special guest or am I just special?
I think we're going to find out. I think that's going to come out here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And we know that she's special because the slide says so, and slides don't lie.
And slides don't lie. No. So, Steph, nice to see you. We are looking forward to our webinar with you, which we won't belabor here, but that will be fun. Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I'm 22 years in big data software and now SaaS because I used to sell things on CDs. I didn't sell them on 3x4 floppies. I'm not that old, but I certainly did play the Oregon Trail on those growing up, in docking trips. Yeah, it's a good game. It's had a resurgence. I specialize in early to mid-stage companies. I have worked for a $3 billion company and a $6 billion company, but I've worked for them in the capacity of a newly acquired startup. Oftentimes companies bring me in either pre or post transition. I specialize in kind of melding multiple teams and aligning the departments in the go-to-market motion and ensuring that silos are removed. So I focus on revenue leadership, go-to-market strategy and enablement, and then also talent development. And because I love talent development so much, I also support Pavilion and are just about 1,200 of our members that are in transition or facing transition. So I hold 3 recurring webinars a week where we talk about job search tactics, showing up, interview stories, executive thesis. And I bring folks in like the two of you gentlemen to talk about executive presence and how to stand up and perform your job search in a very meaningful way to align with the role that is best for you in your time of life and career.
I'm going to say that was the best intro we've ever had in all 79. That was very good.
Oh,
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Can I also say that if I ever start a new company, I'm going to call it Various Companies. That's a great name.
There's a group of us who are fractional, like CROs and revenue leaders, and we work with so many companies. We found this company. It's a French company, and we just like their logo, and so we all work there now.
That's fabulous.
Well, a lot of our customers that we support, we're under NDA with, so I can't actually put them on my
No,
LinkedIn,
of course not.
right?
Yeah,
so
right.
This is just a way to do it.
Various Company. I like that. All right, well, let's get into the good stuff here. So, as everyone knows, well, I don't feel warmed up on this because our recording has been choppy the last month or so. But let me see if you remember. What do we talk about in this podcast?
I don't know.
Try.
We talk about leadership traits under stress.
Yes. And where do we get those traits from?
We utilize the fantastic OAD personality assessment tool to evaluate the superpowers and kryptonite associated with our guests.
And why do we pick them?
Highly accurate, extremely easy to administer. Steph took it recently. It only took her a few minutes, a couple pages on the web, easy peasy. Eliminate social desirability distortions. You're just selecting adjectives. You're not doing greater than, less than, or A, B, C, D. And it's built to the standards of leading international psychology institutions and rating agencies. Those logos there on the bottom, Steph, tell you that this information is scientifically valid and can be trusted.
We can't stop this pod because of how well you now do that slide. I mean, it took 5 or 6 dozen to get us there, but that was excellent.
That's all, and a lot of abuse,
repetition. Repetition. Yeah.
If you keep beating the animal, it will stop the behavior you don't want. So,
do you have to go pick your own switch in a few minutes? Because let me tell you from experience, just get the thinnest one.
Yeah. Oh, really? You think so? But that one moves fast and creates a bigger gash, right?
But small.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Well, as we progress through this, we always begin by talking about the OAD leadership style matrix. We have a quadrant structure. We have generalists and specialists, socially oriented and technically oriented. I am a socially oriented generalist. I'm in the builder quadrant, and I am a negotiator. Will?
Technically oriented, generalist, architect quadrant, and I am a developer.
Right. And Steph, like many, many, many of our guests, is a socially oriented generalist. She's a builder, but she is an influencer.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
It does sound right. So let's get into a little bit of what that's all about. Will?
Yes. Oh, the magic question.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Steph, how does it feel to have yourself reduced to a 2-dimensional table?
I'm secure enough in myself that it's okay.
All right, good. I'm glad you
Good answer. Yeah. Okay.
Rusty.
Did anyone drink before this call? I'm just wondering.
You would not drink.
Because I did not.
Right.
This is just who I am.
We're just goofy. Will, you want to see my blooper for next week?
What is it? What'd you do? Oh, name here.
No.
And I noticed that in the green room, but I said, no, I'm not changing that because that's legit.
That's Slipshot Productions right there.
Legit. So let's break Steph
So I've
down.
been reduced to a 2-dimensional slide, and name here is my new name.
Name here who works for various companies.
Name here.
Also, I'm special.
That's true.
That's
winning
true.
Today.
All of these things can be true. Okay. So let's go through this. So Steph is a builder influencer, as it says. And this is a classic builder influencer profile because we have the high A and E, so assertiveness and extroversion. We have the low P, and then we have what we call the hook back D for detail orientation. So for you, most things you're happy to delegate. You let somebody else do them. You let somebody else follow up. However, if it's important to you, this hook back D, as we call it, means that like 10% or 20% of the stuff that comes across your plate is yours and you're on top of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas people like me, my D goes all the way down here. You get stuff like this. That's the difference. So
when it's important to her, she's on the details.
Yeah. Yep. You concur?
Sounds accurate.
Really isn't comfortable delegating those things. There's some stuff that she's just like, nope,
not going to happen.
I've finalized on it in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so now we're going to roll through your superpowers and kryptonite. Let me spill these few out, and Will, why don't you ask a question or two?
So these are unique to you, Steph. Let's talk about the superpowers piece. Of those bullets there, is there one that stands out to you as most accurate that you believe or have heard from others that they say is a trait of yours?
Mm-hmm. Well, the strong sense of urgency. So the second one, working in startup to mid-market when we're resource constrained, financially constrained, I have to be very scrappy and resilient. I have to build these plans that I have, a B and a C plan to, and can pivot very quickly. In addition to that, I'd say we also look at the third bullet there with the big picture and the attention to detail. I've been told many times that I see 100 steps in front of others, and I provide course correction along the way. So I tend to go in and have to do a lot with very little, and these superpowers enable me to do that.
That is awesome. Now I have to do what we in comedy call a callback. When you said you have to be 100 steps in front of, that sounds like Will at Disneyland racing to get dinner, leaving his family behind.
He's referencing a blooper of mine. I just want to make sure we weren't late for our reservation, Mr. Lane.
Smart. Captain Fun.
Yeah, that's me.
Vacation. All right, let's do kryptonite.
So, Steph, pressure comes, stress evolves, things create strain, and then our superpowers can invert and become kryptonite, become our weaknesses. Which of these bullets have you noticed about yourself or have others called out?
That would be the second one. The second one. I just got called out on that last night.
Tell us.
Yeah. So I'm currently interviewing for a new CRO role, and they want me to do an assignment. They love these assignments. They take hours. Normally, I charge thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars to my clients to perform these exercises. So, of course, they gave very little information, but they also said, if you land the job, then we would love to institute your plan. So in my mind, I want to do a nice, thorough job. I want the data that can fill in my models that will then tell us from a data-oriented perspective what we need to do to increase the revenue. And there was a set amount of revenue that I need to increase in 2025. That's the exercise. How am I going to get there? And as a revenue leader and a go-to-market leader, I look at everything. I want to know, what are the sessions on the website? I want to know what the conversion rate is on those, MQLs to SQLs, what's your deal velocity, your deal volume. I want to know what the percentage of, upsell opportunity we have. Like, there's a litany. There's probably 20 KPIs that if I had all of that data, I can put into a model and it will allow me the opportunity to build a very thorough plan. So I sent this, I said, in a perfect world, I would have all of this. You let me know what you're comfortable with. I got like a handful of things back from him. And he said, this tells us a lot about your thought process and your level of thoroughness. We want this to be equitable for all applicants. So here are a few bits of information that I'm comfortable sharing so that this is an even playing field. Have fun.
That is great. And I think you separated yourself by the thoughtfulness of the data that you requested, even though they may not even have it. I mean, that's one of the reasons they may need you is because they don't have it.
Which is fine. And that's fine because when I go into companies, this is still my plan. I still want to find a way to gather that data. Yeah. It's fine. I just need to know, am I building it from scratch or am I iterating on what's already there?
John, I'm going to ask her a question here, but it's a little bit separate from the pod. This is more of an industry thing. I want to pick your brain on this particular topic, Steph.
Do you have tens of thousands of dollars to pay her?
Yes.
From that lucrative podcast money we have.
That's right, because it keeps flowing in. Let's inverse this, and let's say you're the CEO and hiring for a CRO. Mm-hmm. Number one, now that you're going through this and have been, an active candidate interviewing for, CXO level jobs, mm-hmm. would you do this to other candidates? Do you believe it has value? And number two, do you ever worry that they say they take your idea and use it, even though they didn't hire you? What's your philosophy? What is your thoughts on that? Those are things I hear from other C-level candidates right now is they're fishing me for information. They're not going to hire me. They're just going to use my stuff. Yeah. And if I was in this position, I wouldn't make somebody go through this suffering.
Okay. If I was in the position, I would not make someone go through this unless I was going to pay them for their time. Mic drop. Yep. You're going to ask someone to spend 3 to 10 hours. They love to say that it's an hour and a half or 2 hours worth of time. It's not. To do it thoroughly, it's not. And if anyone thinks that that's enough time to get it done, they clearly don't understand go-to-market strategy. And I'm concerned with them as a CEO, not this individual CEO. I'm saying in general, CEOs oftentimes don't understand this. It's when they pretend to understand it and don't, or won't admit that they don't understand it, that we have a problem. So you've got a couple of red flags there as an interviewee, right? Yeah. The other thing is, yes, you are concerned as an interviewee that they're going to take your work product, implement that without you getting paid. So they're taking work product for free, right? Again, I charge a lot of money for this in my consulting practice because it's a lot of work and it needs to be, also I have a high degree of ownership. So I always want to do the very best job that I can do, which means I put in extra time. I care deeply. I think, and if you're doing it with very little information, then it's literally just a waste of exercise because it doesn't tell you if this person's going to be good in their job. I'd much prefer have an organic conversation about these things and get from this individual in an interview that they understand the philosophy of go-to-market, that they understand revenue architecture, that they understand revenue operations, and they understand talent development. Those are the things that matter. And can they break down the silos between marketing, sales, and CS? Do they understand how all of those pieces play together along with product? Because product is what we sell, right? And so oftentimes that's left out entirely. Yeah. So if I was the CEO or I was the hiring manager hiring for this role, I would go about it differently. And I think what I counsel all of our on the bench folks or people in career transition that I support is take the lessons that you learn while you're interviewing in this tough market. And when you are the hiring manager, you can do better and be better.
I love that. Yeah.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was pointing you towards. I couldn't lead that alone because this whole presentation.
That's your world. Yeah.
Can be such a bugaboo.
I was going to say, do the work, but then redact all the good stuff. And then when they hire you, you'll unredact it.
Yeah. Unredact.
Yeah. I mean, we hire people at a CXO level because they have a repeatable process. They've built it before. They understand how to build the foundation and the structure, but they also understand that it has to be customized for every individual company, given a multitude of data points. Position in the industry, what kind of revenue model are we working? Is this a consumption-based model? Is this a monthly recurring revenue model? Is this a combination of the two? All of those things play a part. And when we don't have all the answers to that, and they ask us to build these assignments, you're going to come in and look like you know less than you do. So they're not setting us up for success most of the time. Which
is not good.
No, because why would you want someone to waste their time? And the next meeting is an hour and a half. And there's 45 minutes of the candidate presenting, and then the rest of the time is a Q&A. So why would you spend that time when we haven't set the individual up for success? When I was at another agency years ago, and our fresh out of college, never had a job before candidates, when they came in, we gave them assignments. And it was all about marketing spend allocation across mediums. And I thought that was a waste as well, because they just went through school. They're all probably going to have a similar answer because they went to the same two schools, U of O and O of U. And we were in Oregon, so we hired a lot from Oregon. And so it was really interesting when we would look at these assignments. I'm like, you guys realize that all of these assignments use the same deck template that they used when they were in school, that their professor gave them? Mm. And there was like this light bulb, and they went, oh, we never noticed that before. I said, how do you miss it? They all look the same. They all have the same information. So is this helping us? Is this an efficient step in the hiring process, or is this a waste of time? I think it's a waste of time.
Well, hopefully this exercise with us was not a waste of your time. I would love for you to talk about what you learned reviewing the superpowers, reviewing the kryptonite, thinking about this leadership interview process you're going through, your next leadership role that you're going to take, and the leadership volunteer position that you have with Pavilion. How can you utilize this evaluation of Steph to, benefit all the things that you're juggling right now? What comes out of this exercise with me and John that's helpful for you as a leader?
Yeah, and I'll set the stage that I've been through many personality and work style assessments. I did another one this morning for a job I applied to. So this is a very common practice for organizations. I have enjoyed them over the years. I've always felt that they miss the mark a little bit for those of us who are neurodivergent. And I think that we need to make sure that whatever assessment we're using when we do this at our organizations takes neurodiversity into account. However, that being said, it really helps me as a reminder, especially with the overly detail-oriented. Let's just assess when I should be more detail-oriented and when it's okay to give less detail in situations. When is it okay for me to release the reins and say, that's not actually that important. I don't have to worry about that today. So it's really just kind of a reminder. It's like going to therapy.
Yeah.
And your therapist reminds you that that's not really the best use of your time. That's not the best communication style. Right. Yeah. And I'm not meeting the other people where they are today. When we go through assessments like this, what I find is it just reminds me of the work styles of the other folks that I'm alongside and helps me communicate more efficiently with them.
Yeah. Well, you made a point earlier, sorry, John, about the CEO that won't admit that they don't understand. Mm-hmm. You've worked for plenty of leaders that did not self-reflect. And that's really what this podcast has been meant to be from the beginning, is self-reflection, vulnerability, and being a leader who looks at themselves, strengths and weaknesses. I think that makes for a better leader overall and a better understanding of team dynamic. But you don't find that as often as you'd like.
No, there's a lot of narcissism and nepotism at the top that I thought that surely, merit would win at the end. And that has not been the case in my experience. So what I just try to do is be conscious of where I lack skills and experience. And then I look to, when I'm hiring, to fill those needs in those gaps. And I want the team to understand where we have gaps as a leadership team and where we have room for improvement individually and as a team, so that we can all work toward being better and doing better for one another, for our staff, for our clients, and for the company as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's the way we think of things. So when I do work with a team and we go through the assessment, one of the slides I show is of a dartboard with bullseye hit, right? Mm-hmm. And then I cross that out and I say, we're not here to unravel everyone's onion down to the finest bit. What we're here to do is to have a common experience, a common framework, and a common language to put this into action. So if you want to quibble over how much detail orientation you have or not, that's fine. It's a rabbit hole. If you want to understand that the people you often have conflict with communicate differently than you, mm-hmm. and if you'd rather have success than win, you're going to learn to meet them where they are because you're trying to convince them of policy X or project Y or whatever it is that you have. And this dartboard side, it's a too high of a bar. And so I try to avoid that. I also want to say that when it comes to neurodiversity, one of the things that we use our assessment for is in hiring. And we have a process, which I won't pitch here, but I wrote a paper on how companies let unintended bias creep into their process, and neurodiverse candidates are one of the 3 groups I profiled. And you'll hear things like, she didn't look me in the eye, or mm-hmm. we didn't have a warm handshake. And I'm thinking that somebody believes that those are indicators of future job performance mm-hmm. is insane. And so that's a big hot button issue for me. And I think I told you I was going to send you that paper and I forgot. So I made a note to send it to you because it's really important that the interview process is unearthing things about whether this person can perform the job well now and in the future, not if they've learned some interview style or hack, right? I saw somebody crowing about themselves that if they don't get a handwritten note from somebody within a week of the interview, they don't go forward. I'm like, what the heck does that have to do with job performance? None.
First of all, how are we supposed to send handwritten notes when people work from home?
Yeah.
Now, I love a handwritten note.
Sure,
don't get me wrong. I have a stack of note cards here, and I love to send handwritten notes. I have stamps around me, right? I'm a certain generation who grew up sending handwritten thank you notes. Yeah. However, it is extremely difficult now to do that. So I think we have to look at what are the constraints that candidates have right now in the interview process. We also used to show up to an office and have an in-person interview.
Yeah.
On Monday, I have my second in-person interview in, I'd say 5 years.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's just so different now.
It doesn't happen anymore. So people aren't in the office. You can't call the office and ask to be transferred to their extension. Yeah. You don't have an address for them. Yeah. The other thing that has come up recently with this crew that I support with the On the Bench program at Pavilion is attire. Right? It's very hard to tell what someone's wearing and first of all, you can only see from here up with me. You don't know what I'm wearing. And then, what we used to consider professional attire has changed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bias in that as well. And what color your hair should be, what style hair should you have? Yeah. Should you wear makeup? Should you not wear makeup? And it's very gender specific. So we have to be careful in the interview process that we don't allow those learned behaviors and biases to creep up during the interview process. Those things don't matter.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, and then I know Will wants to jump on this, is there are lots of candidates who are qualified for the job who didn't grow up in an environment where they were taught to send handwritten notes. And we can fill in what I'm painting there, but it's just true. And so if you hold that out, you are going to sort in the typical candidates and you're going to sort out the typical sort out candidates, and you're going to have the same workforce that you've always had. Nothing's going to change. Will?
Yeah.
No, I would concur with both of you, and I don't enjoy it as the external recruiter when the decision about a candidate is made based on a bias that is tied to an expectation that wasn't communicated.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one too.
When you're given a responsibility at work, I need you to complete task X by time Y to get result Z, right? All right. And then I do it. But if you don't give me any expectation of a task to complete and then hold me accountable for not completing something I was never told to do, that's like expecting me to write a handwritten note when that wasn't set as an expectation in the first place.
Exactly.
How can I know to do something that I was never instructed to do, and how is that fair against the rest of the candidate pool? And I don't, even if I know the client wants that, I don't tell my candidates. I can't, because then it's a false positive.
Right.
And the candidate's delivering something that isn't innate. And then the client feels justified and is hiring based on a false fact.
Well,
it's a mess.
I agree. When we run the world, things are going to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being part of this with us. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I got bored much later in the conversation than I usually do. So thank you for pushing us forward on that. No, it was awesome.
I love you guys.
He wouldn't do his low P dance today. Usually he's doing his low P
I'm
dance.
I'm John Lane.
I'm Will Barfield.
We are in progress. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
79.
Bye.
Work in Progress is a podcast presentation of Slipshod Productions. Available on LinkedIn and YouTube. Executive produced and starring John Lane and Will Barfield. Talent booking, production, and editing by John Lane. Thanks for watching. See you next week.